Welcome back to another series here with the St. Saviour's Virtual Youth Group. And we have got Tristan back to chat with us about traveling, about gap years, about backpacking around the world, something that he is very, very familiar with. So first, I wanted to say that, this is a really exciting topic for you and me to talk about because you and I think, met on an international trip. That was our first interaction together, was actually down here in Mexico, where I am right now. And so we've always connected on travel. And so when I was talking about this topic and thinking about who I wanted to connect with, I was like, Tristan will be the guy to talk to.
Absolutely.
So first of all, before we even jump into the questions, why don't you explain what you showed up here tonight wearing?
Well, I knew this question was going to come up because typically I'm wearing a sweater or just one of my normal shirts, but I was really excited to sit down and have a little conversation and share, some of our experiences and thoughts together on this topic. So what I'm wearing here, this is what I took with me on my gap year around the world, my travel hat. You can see it in all the pictures of Tyler and I together in Mexico. It's in there quite frequently. On my shirt here, this was given to me from a woman from Namibia. It's called a dashiki, and it's currently Black History Month right now. And my local Black Culture Society is really emphasizing not only acknowledging the hardships that Black communities around the world have faced for millennium, but as well acknowledging the diversity in Black cultures and the colorful and wonderful things that have been contributed from those communities. So that's why I'm wearing what I am today.
Awesome. It's very fitting of the conversation we're going to have.
For sure.
So first of all, I know you've been to many, many places around the world, and you and I both have been fortunate to travel to some pretty cool places. But one of the things, I always love to ask people is what's something you've learned in your travels?
There's so many things that you learn. You interact with so many people. There's constantly an information thrown at you from bystanders, taxi drivers, tourists about history and culture and cuisine. And I think though a lesson that kind of is the umbrella over it all was that humankind, people, we for sure in day-to-day lives in cultures and history and politics are very different, but yet at the same time we are all the same. And whether we come from a very privileged background as ourselves or people like we've met in Mexico who don't have the sort of access to resources that are so comfortable for us, they still share the same important values that we hold so dearly to ourselves. And I think it was just that umbrella idea of humanity is truly one, and we are not so separate as we are tend to taught to be in society.
Oh, that's so true. I think that's something that I think lots of people have noticed when they've traveled internationally, and your expectation is that this is going to be so different from my home, and these people are going to be very different from the people that I've grown up alongside. But at the end of the day, there's far more in common, and there's far more similarities than there are differences between people around the world.
And I've found in meeting people like you and I who've had so many experiences in our young and impressionable years to people from different places and how crossing those imaginary lines drawn on maps changes the world in so many ways, from the water that we drink to the food that's in the grocery stores. And we see with the older generations who maybe haven't had that exposure that sometimes they feel very foreign to other people without realizing that beyond the language barriers and all that stuff, we truly share the same hearts.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I know you've done some travel with family and with friends and even some group travel, but specifically when you think about some of the times maybe you've been on a solo trip, what's some of the scariest things about traveling alone?
I think there is the overwhelming subject of security that has come up always throughout travels.
Hmm.
I was in Hong Kong during their protests. I have witnessed robberies occur in broad daylight. And so, there is absolutely, especially if you travel to countries that maybe aren't so stable, there's a lot of risks that exist. But I also want everybody to recognize that the risks that we see there, sometimes because there's more people, because those cities are busier, it may seem like a more prevalent issue, but they are similar things that I've experienced in downtown Toronto, downtown Vancouver, downtown Winnipeg, even in the rural areas of the prairies, those same sorts of things. So as much as safety is definitely something that we have to prioritize and consider when traveling, it definitely shouldn't be something that makes us not want to partake in a very beneficial experience.
Yeah, agreed. I think that when we travel, like anything, it's the fear of the unknown, right? So, and I think there's a bit of a stereotype that there's certain parts of the world that are more dangerous than others. And I think that, you said it exactly right. There's sometimes just as much of a chance of
Mhm.
something going wrong at home in Canada or in the US, which some people might consider a safer place. But at the end of the day, I think there's just a smart way to travel, right? And there's it's just certain things that you can make sure you do and make sure you are aware of, right, when you're going into a new place that you don't know, which kind of transitions into my next question, which would be what are some things or tips and tricks that you try to remember when you're visiting a brand new place for the first time?
I mean, I could probably sit down and write a book with you about tips and tricks on how to make your travel experience as less stressful as possible
That's the
and
next
as
project.
enjoyable as it could be, right? That's a whole other subject. But really breaking it down into some focus points, being really secure with your belongings. There's a lot of really great travel accessories that exist. Especially if you're going to be backpacking, it's really
Mhm.
important to have not only the proper locks for your bags that you lock up, but I've had wallets that connect on my belt and fold into my pants. Always paying attention to my surroundings constantly. I actually have a case that attaches to my belt for my phone, but, not getting caught on the screen, which maybe we feel safer to do here at home. Um, Planning ahead is very important as well. You have to be well prepared and do plenty of research about where you're going, learn customs and culture, and building on that, respect, respect, respect whenever you are traveling. At the end of the day, as much as I stress the idea that we as humanity are all one, not everybody feels that way. And there are many customs and things that are foreign to us, but are something that, other people hold dearly to them, and they will stick up and stand up for their traditions and their beliefs. And it's important that just as we respect one's home when we enter their home, we respect one's land, one's state of being for sure while traveling.
Yeah, that's huge. I think respect is the you hit that right in the right spot, because I think you have to think about what would you expect, or how would you want someone to act if they came into your neighborhood, into your community. What would your expectations be, right? And it would be that
Mhm.
respect thing as well. And I think when you're going into somewhere new, there's different customs, there's different culture, there's different practices that are going to be new to you, but it's about just being open to them and learning from people in different
Yes.
cultures.
Too, we live in this era of social media where everybody is ready, picture, 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 make the memories. I want to, look and dress in the comfortable ways that I'm used to at home. I have many tattoos that may be considered disrespectful in certain cultures, right? There may be certain
Mm.
things like statues of religious idols and stuff that it's just inappropriate to take pictures. Even in there's a specific country in Africa, I believe it's Mauritania, where there's actually a large culture that is dominated on the idea that pictures are dangerous to their souls. And so that goes back to planning ahead and learning about where you're going, because respect is very important.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. That was one of the biggest learning things for me when we went to Haiti. The people in Haiti as well. It's a very cultural thing and a historical and almost spiritual thing about the photos. And it's something that they're not comfortable with. And just kind of getting used to that and respecting that. And like you said, that's going to be something different in every place that you go.
Absolutely.
So kind of shifting gears, obviously still in the realm of travel, but we always hear the term gap year and taking, a break from school or, going and traveling and living abroad, between high school and university or college. What do you think about a gap year? And is it something that's beneficial for young people?
Well, I think firstly, one has to consider their method of travel. I think there's many different ways to travel, just like in our society here at home. The cultures and things you can do in Vancouver differ from what you can do in Charlottetown, to what you can experience, say, in rural areas of the Yukon. So you have to think about what is best for me, what's my comfort level, because when it comes to backpacking, what I did during my gap year, it's an incredibly demanding experience.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything goes as planned. You might have an idea of what you think the experience will be, what you hope the weather will be like. And there are going to be challenges that come up. There were times where I planned a hike and I was hoping it would be sunny, but it ended up being rain. And I'm personally the kind of person that is adaptable to all sorts of circumstances. And so I think you just have to really be prepared, no matter how you travel, to learn to be comfortable with discomfort. Um, but overall, is it a beneficial experience? Absolutely, because it gives you knowledge, challenges, a sense of freedom to learn and soak up new things and build memories, especially if you're a young person who's kind of pondering what they want to do with their life, whether it be educational or career pursuits. I think it's a really great time to get out on the road and to try something new and just get out of your comfort zone. I think that's something we discussed before in another talk, how great it is for our growth to get uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agreed. I think when I think about, I took a gap year, and I wonder if it's still considered a gap year if you never go back to school, but no, I took a gap year and traveled, and that was one of the biggest lessons I learned, was about life outside of your comfort zone. And I think there's just something kind of transformative about being in a different place and being in a different culture. And maybe you've never traveled, internationally, or maybe you've never solo traveled without your family. And when you're a young adult, 18, 19, 20 years old, that's a really cool and exciting time, when you're sort of this adult and stepping into adulthood and doing more things on your own and more independence. And I think that, like you said, everyone will have varying levels of comfort, but if you can
Mhm.
find a form of travel that is within somewhat your comfort zone, and obviously to start, but I think, yeah, there's so much to learn from it, and growth, that personal growth that comes from travel.
Well, Tyler, I think too, speaking on our gap year experiences, for you in your gap year experiences, I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, you really got a sense of purpose and an understanding of what contributes to your highest value of happiness and how you contribute to the world, how you lead your life. And, in my gap year experience, one of the things I did was I spent a half a year teaching English, because I had considered teaching as a future aspiration. And for me, I learned that that wasn't actually the route that I wanted to go. And so, it can truly contribute to your life. And you're right, maybe a gap year will turn into 7 gap years, or just that'll be your life, is your new
Turns into a
pursuit.
lifestyle. Yeah.
But that's the point of new experiences, is to expand our mind, because that experience got me pondering, okay, maybe this isn't for me. What is something else? It allowed me to start exploring myself and my aspirations in a whole new light.
Yeah, no, it definitely can go both ways. It can kind of open you up to new things that you maybe didn't realize, or just kind of validate things that you already knew about yourself. And so that I think it's really cool. And that, the term gap year, I've never been a huge fan of that term, and I've probably said that before. And it's more of a growth year. It's more of a transition year. I don't know. I think
those two right there are already perfect synonyms for the gap year. The gap year almost imposes this concept that you have to go through school, finish your grade 12, get your diploma, go to university, spend 4 years getting a bachelor, and this and that. And truly, that's just not how life works. We're not meant to do things in this staircase order. Of course, you have to work. Of course, you need to learn always, and experience new things. But we don't need to fall into the boxes that we are constantly taught to live in, because I think the greatest discoveries, whether they're personal for ourselves or contributions to the world, came from thinking outside of the box. So I really like those terms you just mentioned there, and from now on, I think we should refer to it as those.
Yes, agreed. And I think you're right. There's different ways of learning, right? There's not this one traditional route anymore, and maybe there was at one time, but I think things have evolved, and travel, I believe, is just one of those routes of learning and a way to educate yourself about the world.
Absolutely.
What something just fun, like what is your best travel memory?
I have a USB that contains so many pictures from my travel. When I look at my Live Different book, when I explore those past memories, I think all of them spark joy in their own unique ways, but some highlight moments for sure. Hiking in Hong Kong with this gentleman that I met. He spoke Cantonese. I speak English. He does not speak English. I do not speak Cantonese, but we both knew extremely basic Mandarin Chinese, and being able to just say, hello, this is my name, a little bit about maybe myself and my family, but then just hiking together in nature, getting to see these beautiful views of both the mountains and the city, and to just soak in an essence in silence was a beautiful thing I had never ever imagined experiencing. It just kind of happened on the fly. We met at a map board, and next thing you know, we spent 8 hours together, all the way till we were on the train platforms, and he was going one way and I was going the other way. There was the time that my father and I arrived together at Machu Picchu, and overlooking the citadel in the morning before all the people arrived, and seeing the wonders. And finally, just Mexico in general, Tyler, was a period in my life that really contributed to shaping my mindset. And I think it really put me on a great path. And I still take a lot of those memories with me along today, as great lessons. So there's dozens. Even this tattoo right here from a Buddhist monk in Thailand that did it with a bamboo stick.
Wow.
Free
Yeah.
hand, no drawing, in an hour. It's a beautiful tattoo. I'm abundant in great memories. I appreciate the question. I hate to just go subject to subject, but it's just the way, the reality of the fortunate experience I had.
Yeah, no, well, I won't disagree with you on Mexico being a highlight. It's clearly somewhere that we both love and have had really, really good memories and met some pretty cool people along the way. The other thing I love is, what you said about meeting the man and going hiking in the mountain, because that I think is one of the coolest things about travel is when cultures collide and when people from completely different points of the world meet up and just experience the beauty of wherever you are in that moment. And it totally brought me back and reminded me of my recent trip to Mexico City here. And, just on my last day there, I just decided at the last minute to join a tour to go visit the pyramids of the sun and the pyramids of the moon outside the city. And our group consisted of this couple from the States, and I was from Canada, and this other young people from Amsterdam and London. And there was a guy from Paris and a guy from Italy. And just like all of these cultures and all of these people coming from different parts of the world and just experiencing the beauty of where we were, and a culture that was very different from everyone that we came from, in that moment. And that was like, oh yeah, this is what travel is about. It's about just exposing yourself to new people and new cultures. And yeah.
And some of them become lifelong friendships. And whether it's that hiking experience or the motorcycle trip that I did in northern Vietnam, it was those moments where people from all different points on this floating rock in space come together as one to recognize that we are very small in this magnificent and beautiful universe, and that our life, whether you see it in a spiritual sense or a very constructive science way, it's a special and unique thing. And I think that that people are a huge part of making travel a wonderful experience. I mean, what is that saying that's written on the Live Different house in Mexico? Life is about people, right? Because that's how we learn. That's how we've come to understand the world as we do. It's how we've learned to love and to feel and to connect. So it is very important for sure.
Well, before we close off here and sign out, what's next? What's the next big location on your travel bucket list? You can share yours and then I'll share mine.
Well, when everything is set and ready and appropriate, there's 2 international destinations that I've definitely been exploring a lot online. One of them is Guatemala, and the other is Nepal. Both of them have cultures, cuisines, histories, and landscapes that I'm very interested in exploring and getting exposed to. But I'm also right now, over this last 2 years, I've been very grateful to have the opportunity to explore a lot more of Canada here at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm considering a trip to Newfoundland, as well as looking into positions in Indigenous and rural communities in the northern part of our country, where there's a lack of healthcare resources. And I think that my skills could be of use.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think on my next list, again, it could be long. The travel bucket list just keeps growing every day. But yeah, I think for me, my next destination would have to be somewhere else in Mexico. I'd love to just explore. There's over somewhere around 20 or 30 different states in Mexico, and each one different than the next. And I think that after being here for a couple of years, it's just made me want to explore more of the country. And so I think that would be first on my list. And then after that, I have friends. I'm very fortunate to have friends that kind of live all over the world, and I haven't seen lots of them in a very long time. And so I think I'm going to be needing to making some trips out west to BC and Vancouver, and out east to New York and that area, and catch up with
You're always welcome here in PEI too, Tyler.
Yes, I will have to get back there too. I would love to do that and tour the East Coast. You can show me around.
It doesn't matter where you go, whether it's a couple hours away from where you are at home or halfway around the world, you will find yourself walking through history and through very beautiful environments, and just learn to take a deep breath, be very present in the now and this current moment, and soak up the true reality that is around you, because each of these moments, each of these things, we only have very minimal opportunities to have those experiences. And we have to guide ourselves by two things: growth and gratitude. Seek to learn from our experiences, and as well to guide with gratitude, to be grateful for all that we have and all we're so fortunate to be able to do.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Tristan, for being here.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to have the opportunity to sit here and talk to everybody. I hope you all stay happy and healthy.
Happy travels.